I'm Emma.
I'm Jesse.
And we were both on the SOS team for our last rotation. We had the pleasure of working with Sue Mildrum and manager Satyajit Haralal. We primarily, so we have this RSVP block, right? Basically, you actually saw it in the holiday invite recently. You can respond to an event without actually really having to go into the event flow and create that event. And we wanted to expand on that and create a payment service. And when we came onto the team, this is what we were already doing. And basically the payment service would allow people to pay a fee for that event without, right now you have to go through the event flow and say, I'd like to add a fee. And then you have to connect an account, and then you have to pay, and then you have to, it's all this extraneous, explicit information. So we wanted to make it right in the email. You just click pay. You're taken to one website, and that's it. And it's created implicitly. If you don't attach an account, your WePay account is created for you. And we also got to work with Grafana, and we created some information.
We have a chart.
Yeah.
This is an example of what the RSVP block would look like, just to clarify. Some of this work involved working, we didn't do any front-end work. Our job was the payment service. So some of that work included refactoring the design and really coming up with sketches of what that would look like. And as Emma was saying, some of it, I'm getting a pop-up, sorry. Some of it included building out dashboards, which look super shiny. So, I think now,
we're gonna do a retro of our SOS rotation in true SOS form.
So, ignore that. We're gonna talk about.
Oh no.
There's 2 markers in the front of the room.
Awesome.
So,
So, what went well? What didn't go well? And one word to describe the entire rotation as a whole. So,
with no further ado,
no.
one of the first things that we realized coming on to SOS was that it has a fantastic buddy system. We had to meet people and engage with people that we really were excited to work with. Mohan was my direct supervisor, and I ended up making a hip chat emoji for him, which you can access on your own anytime.
Is it called Mohan?
It's Mohan.
Okay.
And Chris Pica was...
I worked with Chris. I did not give him an emoji.
Yeah.
He's always here.
But Mohan would remote in from Texas at any time.
Any time of the day. One click away.
Any time of the day, 7 p.m. he was on Hip Chat, willing to help us with anything. So the people really stood out to us in the first second, basically.
Another thing that went really well was that we entered at a really good time. SOS was just starting payment service, and so it didn't feel like a legacy project, and it didn't feel like something that we were just gonna rush build. This was something that had kind of been like, we knew what it needed to do, and we were gonna work with Mohan, Raj, Chris, and the other engineers on really building this out. So a lot of the scaffolding had been done, we knew what the technology stack would be, and so when we came on, it was like, okay, we have these endpoints we need to make, let's build those out.
Yeah, and the stuff that we did contribute was really non-trivial. So when it ends up getting built out and put into production, we really contributed a significant amount to the team. Another good thing was Spring Boot. We get to work with Spring Boot, which is way better than Java or Spring put together.
It's magical.
Yeah.
I don't like Java, and Spring Boot is magical. I love it. I'm converted now.
Yeah, Spring Boot, working with annotations, and it also contributed to our StatsD and Grafana stuff. Working with that stuff and getting to visualize all that data using Spring Boot was really helpful. And we also got to run integration tests and work with Cucumber as well.
another new technology we learned was StatStick and Graphic and Grafana and building pretty charts like that. So that was really cool and a nice introspective into like we have a thing, let's like instrumentize it.
Yeah, yeah, and as we mentioned in the intro, we got to be a huge part of the design process. And on that slide before this one, originally we had a flow that basically took in from one endpoint, branched into a bunch of different flows, and then all intersected again at the end. And while we were programming it, they basically were just like, well, here's what we have so far. Why don't you just see what you can do? While me and Jesse were programming it, it became clear that this was not going to be as fluid as we thought. So me and Jesse proposed that we branch from a number of different endpoints, and they all become generalized. So this way, the PayPal and WePay and Stripe can all be can all hit a different endpoint, but can all enter the same flow. And we proposed this, the team adopted it, and we got to implement it ourselves. And that was just a non-trivial contribution that we made, among many others that we were really proud of being part of.
And as Emma was saying, like we were part of doing that work. And so it really felt like just because we were able to do that and we were able to leverage the other members on the team, that everybody was kind of self-managed, right? There wasn't ever an instance of us stepping on other people's toes, and we weren't working on a completely different project.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody kind of understood what the work that needed to be done was, and if we didn't, we could reach out to them.
Yep. And another point about that is that the team size was perfect for that kind of work. Everybody was an expert in something, but there were never too many experts. Or, I mean, there were, but with specifications. It basically was about 7 to 8 people, and only about a couple people working on any one thing at one time. So it ended up being a really good platform for us to kind of expand and have a little agency in what we were creating.
Coming from Dweebs, which was like 15 people, it definitely felt like a good size. And now I'm on Performance, which is even smaller. So it's just narrowing down. On top of that, we had a good sized team, and the Sprint Day event that SOS has was like really, really awesome. It was really eventful. It gave us a chance to show off things.
Yeah.
And even though it's a long meeting and with few people, it really felt like a chance to kind of go over what we had done and what we needed to improve on.
Yep, and yeah, that's pretty much all I would have to say about that. Sprint Day was just a good time to get everything out on the table. As Sue used to say, like, you basically lose your whole day, but you know what you're gonna do next after it. And I think that's a really good way to describe how we would just like buckle down and just do something for 6 hours in a room together, and that also gave us a chance to communicate with each other without having to be like, when are you free, when are you free? So it was a really good time to do that. And Jesse and I paired really well. We had a really good time pairing, we always laughed, and we ended up having many discussions about how things should go.
Sometimes long discussions where we talked about what the standards should be and, you know, what to do in Java, but I feel like they all ended nicely, right, Emma?
Well, except like some of them. When we would talk about something for maybe 2 hours and not really get anything done, but we knew what we were gonna do after that.
And
I promise.
among ourselves, it was pretty easy. At times, it did feel like there were too many cuts, and so some of the features that we were building out, it wasn't quite well defined what things needed to look like.
Right.
So while we among ourselves could determine what needed to be done, then we'd have to go to an engineer and they'd be like, well, you guys agreed on this, but I actually think this other way. And it's like, no, we just talked about this.
Yeah, and we often in our retros would say we should have more technical design meetings. But I think that the team responded really well to that. We ended up having a lot of more technical design meetings, and we had a lot of three amigos, which is what we call just kind of getting together and talking about something. And yeah, I think that both of these kind of just come with positives. And the only other thing that we came up with was that the testing requirements were a little bit unclear. Sometimes we wouldn't really know what we were testing. We'd have to go to a bunch of different people, but I feel like that's kind of the nature of the game. And testing can be hard. Writing for tests can be even harder than writing the code itself. So I think that this is kind of a given, but it can go both ways.
Finally, for our one word, as SOS usually calls it, I think this vacation was bombastic.
All right.
And corn.
Thank you so much.